This is me, Mary C, coming to you yet again with another video. Guess what today is? Today, da, 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 I have my canning machine out here. And today is canning day for me. So I am going to be canning some pot roast. I had to think about it for a minute there. We did beef stew, last week or the week before. And so today it is going to be pot roast. So I don't know what you put in your pot roast. You have to do your pot roast the best way that you know how to do it. How I do mine is I include potatoes. So I've got one potato in here right now. All of this stuff has to be cut up for the most part. So I've got one potato already skinned. I've taken I peeled it. I have some green beans. I got my onions here that need to be cut up. I did cut up my celery, so I have my celery. And I have some carrots here as well that I'm going to put into my roast. Now, what do I have that's missing? I don't have any meat here yet. So I still have to, it's downstairs in the fridge, downstairs, thawed for the most part. So I still have to cut that up. I didn't figure you guys wanted to see me do all of that stuff because you know how to do it yourself for the most part. But I want you to follow along with me as I can pot roast today. And I pray that you are able to hear me this morning. And so that there won't be a problem with the audio of this video, excuse me. I happen to have one of those voices. For me, I'm not particularly fond of my voice. It is what it is, it's what the good Lord gave me. But I'm not particularly fond of hearing myself speak. So I'm hoping and praying that this video will be loud enough that you can actually hear it and hopefully gain something from this canning, I guess you could say, mini tutorial, because I'm going to try not to make it long. So I will skip over things that I don't think that are, important, or that or things that I think that you probably already know. If I'm wrong, put it in the comments and let me know that I'm wrong. I have my trusty dusty canner out, and I will get all the tools out. I will go over the tools with you once again. I did it in one of the other videos, but I'll go over the tools once again. I have my jars, they're all clean, and I have my lids, they're all clean and ready to go. Everything's ready to go. I have some beef broth is what I'm going to put in the jars with all of the vegetables and the meat. And if I run out of roast and vegetables to fill all of my jars, I'm going to do some black-eyed peas. So I'm going to also can some black-eyed peas, hopefully. So I can only fit, and let me say this, I'm working with today quart size jars, and they are the regular mouth. Normally, if I'm going to do something that has the meat in it and all the vegetables, I like to work with a wide mouth, but as you know, there is a shortage. Now, I do have, I have a supply of jars. I just used my final grouping of the wide mouth for the beef stew. So I don't have the wide mouth, so I'm going to use what I have, and I do have the regular mouth, so we're going to just make do with these. And I can only fit, I think it is 7. Let me go to my chart here. A regular mouth, I can put 7 of my regular mouth regular mouth quartz jars in here at one time to can. So I'm going to probably do 2 batches. So, and I'll try to run them back to back. But you don't need to watch all of that. So anyhow, this is just the beginning, and after I cut up everything and get everything ready for the jars, I will get the canner going or ready, start warming that up, and we'll take it from there. Okay, brothers and sisters, I am back, and I have cut up everything, chopped up everything that needed to be chopped up. Let me get back on the camera here. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm going to go over real quick the tools of the trade. So I bought these guys here, the first initial items that I'm going to show you as a canning kit. So I got the funnel, and I'm going to be using that today. This is the debubbler, but it will also, you use this also if you need to measure your headspace on your jars, but I use the other end of it to debubble my jars. And this is the lid lifter that has a magnet on the end, and then it also came with a jar lifter. Okay, so that was part of one kit. I've had issues with my lid lifter, the what is this thing? The magnet comes out every now and then, so it's not as good as it could be. So I'm going to put that to the side, and I'm going to show you my handy dandy, newfangled lid lifter that my husband found for me because he heard me complaining about the other one. And I want to say he got this one at Harbor Freight. I want to say he got this at Harbor Freight, and it's got the extending, neck to it so that you can extend it out if you need to. But it's got a heavy-duty magnet on the end, and he said it wasn't very expensive. So I wanted to brag that my husband was thinking about me when he went to get his tools, and he bought me something that is functional and I adore. So that was bought separately, and then I have the ladle, the scoop, whatever you want to call it. Comes in handy when you want to use liquids, like I'm going to be putting broth into the roast. So to ladle the broth in. I keep doing this. Come on, swing with me, ladies and guys. Swing with me. Anyhow, I have the ladle here as well. I also have my little container, and it has white vinegar. And I use the white vinegar to clean the rims off of the jars. And then also, when I'm done with cleaning the rims, I will also put the vinegar in my canner, because I don't want to end up with having a white film on my jars. So it just kind of keeps the jars clear. So now the canner is on low, so I got that heating up. I have my broth and mixture in here, and it's just broth and water because of the sodium in the broth. I water it down a little bit. So I've got that heating up, and I've got the canner heating as well. And then I also have my container of canning salt. So that's pretty much all of I did the tools, but that's pretty much all of the seasoning that I'm going to put into this pot roast when I can it. So it'll have the beef broth, and it'll have salt. Anything after that, if I need to season it, will be done once it's done and we're ready to eat. So I'll season it when I get ready to warm it up. So I already showed you that I cut up my carrots. So I have my carrots here. And I have I hadn't cut the carrots up earlier. So the carrots are now cut up. I had the green beans cut up, so they're still good. I got my celery here. And then the celery is being added because it was left over and I just wanted to use it up. So I'm going to add that. And then I cut my onions up. And I have my potatoes all cut up. I don't know if you can see that. There's a glare. And then, of course, I've got my beef. Okay, so I got my pot roast. So everything is all good to go. I already told you I have my jars set up. They're clean. The lids are all clean. So we're pretty much good to go. Now, let me say this. Because we're working with meat, and we're working with a quart-sized jar, we are going to can these or process these for 90 minutes. Okay, 90 minutes because we're working with the meat. So we're going to process them for 90 minutes. But what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start stuffing jars. So I'll do a few of those so that you can see how I do it. And then I'm going to cut out and then come back once I'm going to put them in the canning, the canner, okay? So let me bring over a couple of the jars. And I'm going to also say, I'm not going to heat up the lids, warm up the lids or the jars because they've already been cleaned, sanitized, and you really don't need to do that, so I'm not going to. So I'm going to show you how I stuff a few of these jars, and I'll show you me putting some of the broth in, and we'll take it from there. Truth be told, I'm going to just get my hands all messy because I'm going to use my hands to do this, but I will use the funnel, okay? I will use the funnel. And I'm going to start, and I don't know if other people do it this way or not, but I'm going to start with my meat first. I'm going to move from the meat to my vegetables. So I'm going to start with the meat, and I'm just going to put in, my husband is a hearty meat eater, so I'm going to make sure that each one of these will have a generous amount of beef in the bottom. And this will work out to be like one meal, okay, between the two of us. If it's just the two of us eating, this would be a good meal. So I think that might be good. What do you think? Think that might be good? Now you have to keep in mind, we have green beans, carrots, and celery, and potatoes that also are going to be going into this. So I'm going to put some in this one here, about the same amount. Now, this meat has been cleaned. I am a firm believer in cleaning my meat before I do anything else with it. So the meat has been cleaned. Let me put this down right here and look at it. Yeah, we're looking good. We're looking good. Maybe a couple more. A couple more. Okay, so we got our meat in. I'm gonna throw a few onions because I like to season my meat. A few onions. I got one that's running away here. In on top. Just a couple in between. And then I'm going to throw some of my potatoes in. And you know, you can do this any way you want to do it. This is just the way I'm doing it. I'm putting the celery in on top of that. And I don't have that many of the celery, so I'm going to do that sparingly. Hopefully you can hear me again. There goes my voice, right? My apologies. So I'm putting carrots in. Put some green beans in. Come on up, babe. And honey's gonna come through. It's okay. He says, geez. He's coming up to get his 50th cup of coffee because he drinks coffee throughout the whole day. So, as you can see, we love onions, so I'm putting a bunch of onions in here. I put some midway, and then I'm putting some on the top. I should have had Honey say hi when he was going through next time. Sorry, guys. All right, so we have our onions at the top, and I'm going to press it down just a little bit. Just a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fill these up to the lower rim. So that's like an inch headspace. So we're gonna fill this up to the lower rim with the broth. And then I'm going to use the debubbler to make sure that we've got no air bubbles in there. So I want to make sure I got everything in there. So we have our meat, we have some potatoes in there, we have carrots, green beans, and onions. And then we also have a few of the celery in there as well. So it's more meat than anything, I think, at this point. And then we're just going to pour the broth on top of that. So I'm going to get a container to put a little bit of the broth in. Let's see, what can I use? So I'm going to put some of the broth in here. And just in case, because I've done this before, I run out of broth. I have a teapot in the back, and that's got water in it, just water. So if I need to add any other liquids to it, I will use the water from the teapot, and it is warming up as well. So it's not super hot, but it is heating up. So take this broth over. And again, we just want to make sure, and this is going in hot. One of the things that I forgot to mention is, because I'm warming the broth to go in the jars, I also want to make sure that the canner is going to be warm as well. You don't want to, make sure I put enough in there. You don't want to put something cold and something hot. You don't want to put a cold jar in a hot canner, because you can break your jars that way. That's a good way to break your jars. So you don't want to do that. All right, I'm going to need more broth. Let's see if that's going to do it. It already smells good. And you may have to top it off a little bit, so I'm not going to take this too far. I'm just going to leave it right here. You may have to top it off once you have done the debubbling. You know what? Let me get a towel. All right. I'm going to use this towel with my vinegar to clean the lids. So, using the debubbler, I remember the first time I heard a person that's canning, it's a little hot, it's not too hot, but it's a little warm, talk about debubbling. They said they were going to use this to debubble the jars. And I was looking and saying, what do they mean by that? They didn't show it. They didn't, give you an example of it. So it was just, they were talking. So I'm showing you. Let me see if I can get a little closer. No, if I put it down, you're not going to be able to see it. So I'm just going to run this debubbler along the sides. I don't know if you can actually see. Sometimes you can see an actual bubble that will rise up and out. So that's pretty much what we're doing. We just want to make sure that there aren't any bubbles, because if I understand correctly, that will also cause either problems with your canning seal, or it will cause problems with possibly bursting the jar. Okay, so this one has been done pretty good, and it moved all of my stacked items around, but that's okay. That's okay. They're going to mix it anyways when they start cooking, or when I start canning, and that's what they're cooking. In essence, they are cooking. So I'm going to stick that in there, and I'm going to look at it again. And I don't know if you can see it. Let me get a little closer. If I put it a little closer, you can kind of see that it's no longer at that bottom rim. So I'm going to fill it so that it is at that bottom rim again. And this one is the same way. Just a little. Just a little. All right. Oh, just a little bit more on this one. Okay, we're good to go. So I'm going to take my towel, dab it in my vinegar, squeeze it out just a little bit, and I'm going to clean the rim of my jars. There we go. And then at that point, you're going to take these two guys. I have a lid with the seal. You place that on. And then I have a rim. Same thing for this one here. And place my... Oh, you know what? I forgot. Huh. You got to keep me honest, guys. You have to keep me honest. I forgot to include my salt. Remember, I said I was going to put salt in. And I am using canning salt here. And this is a half a teaspoon. So I won't go crazy with it. And I'll just put in just a little bit of it. Okay? So it's almost the full. It's almost full. Not completely full, but almost full of the half teaspoon. Because we already have the salt in the broth. Okay, so we already cleaned it off. You make sure I did everything. So I just put the little salt at the top. We're going to put our lids on. And they say to do finger tight when you're putting it together. I do just a little bit more because my finger tight is not tight, and they always come loose anyway. So I'm gonna do it just a little bit more than that. You have to do what feels comfortable for you, though. Okay. Most people will say do it finger tight, so you're not grinding it on. But I have not had any problems with it, with trying to undo mine after the fact. Again, my hands work a little differently than most other people, so I do mine just a little bit tighter initially, so that when I do take it out of the canner, I don't have really any problems, and it's not really leaking that much. So we have two done, and I will come back after I have all the rest of them done, and we will take it from there. Okay, now I'm back, and I have the remainder of the vinegar, and I'm going to take that, and I'm going to pour that in my canner. And again, that is to make sure that the jars come out clear. They're not all foggy. or I forget what the term is. I can't think of it right now. But they come out clear, and you don't have to worry about all of the white ashy stuff that's on it. I finished up the other ones, and I'm going to take these guys and put them in this pot with a little water to keep them warm as much as possible. Because when these are done, this is going to be hot, and I might have to wait for it to cool off a little bit in order to do the second batch. And I don't want to have to wait too long, because canning can be an all-day process at times. And so what I've done is I'm going to show you I'm going to show you how I have filled up the canner, if I can. So bear with me. So this is the flip side. I don't know if you're able to see. Let me get in here a little bit better. I'm going to try to. All right, it's not going to cooperate. So as you can see, I have 7 jars in the canner ready to be processed. And on the bottom of this canner is a tray. So they're not just sitting on the bottom of this canner, they're actually sitting on a tray. And for each canner, it requires a certain amount of water. Mine takes I put about 3.5 quarts of water in the bottom of mine. And that was what was warming up to begin with. So each canner, you have to go with your manufacturer's suggestion on how much water to put in your canner. So here we are with the jars in the canner, and I'm going to get the process going. Again, remember, it's going to be 90 minutes because we've got raw meat in there. So we are going to process it for 9 minutes. But before we get to that point, we want the pressure to build up. And then we're going to be looking at the top for our built up steam. We'll do our first 10 minutes, and I'll show you that when we get there. And then thereafter, I'll be able to put the weight on. So I'll show you all of that in just a bit. I'm getting ready to put the top on. Before I do that, I always do the check. And this is where the weight goes. And there is a air hole that goes from top to bottom that goes straight through. There's a plug here that will rise once it starts heating up really good. And then here's the gauge. And let me show you the weight. Because of my location, my altitude, my weight would be 10 pounds. You have to check with you. I'm sorry. I'm talking with my head cut off. Sorry about that. But anyhow, you're going to want to check your altitude to see how much weight you're going to need. Mine it calls for 10. So because mine calls for 10, I usually will let my gauge go up just a little bit past the 10. And then I watch for once I get the weight going on there and it's ready to go, I wait for the gauge to get to a little beyond 10. I don't let it go too far past 10. And then I wait for this guy here to start doing the jiggle dance. And once it does the steady jiggle dance, then I know I'm good to go. But I have to measure the heat to a certain temperature in order to do that. So I'm now at the process of ready to put the top on. I'm going to take the weight back off because I'm not ready for that. So again, I check the lid to make sure that there's proper airflow and there's no blockage. And then I also check the rubber ring on the bottom to make sure that it's still flexible, it's not dried out or anything. If it is, then what I will do is take a little bit of olive oil with my finger, just not much, just a little bit of the olive oil, and I go around the ring before I actually will use it. But it looks pretty good right now. So I'm putting the top on, and the way that my canner works is it's just a quick twist, and it closes it up. And that's pretty much it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close it up, and I will raise the temperature. Right now it's hot, It's hot, but it's not a high temperature. So I'm going to raise the temperature up so that we can get things going. And then once I get the temperature up and it starts going pretty good, and I've got an angled, the canner is angled so that, because everything is so dark over here, I want to be able to see the steam rise. And we're going to be waiting for a steady stream to come out of this hole where I will put the weight at. So once I start getting a steady stream coming through here, what I want to do at that point in time is I want to, once it's a steady stream, once it's a steady stream coming through, I want to time it for 10 minutes. After the 10 minutes, I'm going to put my weight on. And then I'm not going to go far away from the stove at all at that point. Because at that point, I want to monitor my heat temperature on this thing. So on the canner. So then I will adjust my, what do you call these things? I will adjust the temperature on my stove. So if I need to lower it, most cases I will need to lower it a little bit, just so that I can kind of get it to the flow of that I'm comfortable with. And so you'll have to play with it, your own stove and your own, you know, you'll have to play with your stove to see what works for you. So for me, I kind of have a basis of where I'm comfortable with getting this, the weight when it's on, to actually do its jiggle dance. And so I know that if it's between my 4 and medium, and my numbers go from low to all the way up to past 8 to a high, which would be a 9. So when my weight begins to do its jiggle dance, I am already, so I might start between 7 and 6. When it does the jiggle dance, I'm already over between my 4 and 5. So, or my 4 and medium. That's my comfort zone, where I know it won't go beyond, too far beyond that 10. And it'll settle there. So you have to play with it yourself to see where your comfort zone is when it starts to jiggle and it gets to, on the gauge, where you need it to be. So I hope that wasn't too confusing. One other thing I want to mention too is I never can without God, ever. Because when I first started, I was a little fearful. I'm just going to be honest. I was a little fearful of working with a canner because, you know, I'd heard some horror stories. And so I started with him. I will continue and I will end with him. He is my guide. I will say to him, Father, I need your help with making sure that everything runs smoothly. And he is always faithful. So I never can without my Father. He's always with me when I do this. So if it helps you, it certainly helps me. I hope that's a tip that you can use. All right, my darlings, I'm back. And I wanted to show you that there is a pretty steady stream. I'm going to see if I can split sides here. And I don't know if you can actually see this coming up or not, but I've got a steady stream of steam that's coming up through here. So I don't know how clear it is in the video or whether or not you can see it. But I do. I've got a steady stream. Yeah, you can see it. I'm looking at it from the camera's point of view. You can see it a little bit, but there's a steady stream of steam coming through. So at this point, I am going to take my weight and I'm going to place it on. And here is where I am going to watch my gauge. It's set at 0 right now. But as the pressure increases, it will move up slowly, hopefully slowly. When it gets to the 5, is that's kind of my spot where I begin to adjust the temperature controls on my stove. So right now, my temperature control is between 6 and 7, and I'll watch this move from 0 to 5. It's going to go to 5 first. My comfort zone is around, I'm going to say 11. I say 10, but I'll let it slide just a little bit beyond the 10. So I'm going to say 11, okay? So to get to that 11, when I get midway, that's when I start playing with my controls. I start lowering the temperature down a little bit so that when it gets to the 10 and my weight begins to dance, do the jiggle dance, it won't go crazy, and I won't have to bring a temperature that's gone sky high way back down low. Because now it's never happened, and I thank God for this. Thank the Father above. What I understand is if you get it beyond and it goes higher than you want to, and you're trying to regulate it, and you have to bring it back down, you don't want it to go below the weight that you set yours at. So mine would be 10, somebody else's maybe 15. You don't want it to go go below the 10 or the 15, because then if you do that, you're going to have to do the process all over again because it won't be any good. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of the technical part of it. Maybe some of my viewers will know and add that as comment. But I know enough to not let it go back this way beyond under the 10. So that being said, it's moving up right now. It's kind of midway between the 0 and 5. So I'll just keep an eye on it, and when it gets up to the 10, and I might be able to throw some pictures in so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about, a close-up of the gauge, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. If I can, I'll do that. I have some pictures of the gauge and control of the stove, and so I might throw those in so that it might get a little bit clearer. But when it gets to the 10, close to my 10, and we start doing the jiggle dance, I'll come back so you can kind of see what I mean with the jiggle dance, and hopefully that's good enough. Okay, I'm back again. I want to make sure I didn't mix things up a little bit. I made a mistake earlier. I got a phone call, so I got turned around a little bit. I showed you earlier the steam coming up from the pressure canners, and I don't think I timed it. So I took the weight off. Here it is here, and you hear it doing its thing still. So I took the weight back off. I've got the steady stream, but I want to make sure I time it. So please make sure if you're going to follow the instructions on this, to make sure you vent it for that 10 minutes as that steady stream is coming through. Make sure you vent it, because I don't think I said that, and I want to make sure that I'm explaining this the proper way for you. So I have a steady stream still coming up that's hot. I'm still at 0 at this point. So I'm timing it. I've got a few minutes left on the timer for that 10 minutes. Once that 10 minutes is up, that's when you want to place the weight on that hole. Okay? That's when you want to put the weight on. Okay? Not before. Not just because you see the steady stream. When you see the steady stream, then you want to time it for 10 minutes because you want to make sure you get the correct pressure. You want all that whatever bad air to come out. So you want the correct pressure. So before you start watching the gauge, do your 10 minutes first, then put your weight on. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was clear. I don't want anyone to make any mistakes because of something that I've done. Like I said, I got a phone call, and in between got a little turned around. So I just wanted to make sure I said that correctly. So I'll be back when my timer goes off. I will put the weight on, and I'll be back to show you how to uh, monitor from how to monitor the gauge. I'll just put it that way. I'll come back then. Okay, my dears, I wanted to bring you back so that you could see the gauge and you can witness the happy dance that the weight is doing. I was able to go ahead and bring my temperature down all right, let me say that again. My temperature was set between the 6 and the 7. And as the pressure began to rise, I was able to adjust it. And right now it's sitting in the happy zone of 4, between 4 and medium. I don't know if you can see that, which is my 4 and 5. Can't get that to come in any clearer. Sorry about that. But I'm sitting just a little beyond the 10, which I'm comfortable at. I'm comfortable with the speed of the weight doing its jiggle dance. And as you can see in the front, the plug has popped up. So we're good. We're set now to process for 90 minutes because we've got the raw meat in. And when it's done processing, and I will come back. I have these guys, and they're just sitting in warm water right now so that they can remain warm. So when I get ready to do the second batch, they will be ready to go. And I won't have to worry about cool jars going into a hot or warm canner. So when this first batch is done processing, I will come back. Okay, my dears, I came back, and I wanted to tell you, when you get ready to open your canner up, mine was like this. When you get ready to open it after it has done its, after it has processed your, in my case, 90 minutes, you want to be sure that when you lift the top, you lift it and you lift it away from you because it's going to be hot and steam. So I always lift it like this. I tilt it a little bit towards the back of the stove, and then I take it over and I lay it somewhere where it can cool off. So I'm just going to put it right here, but I wanted to show you that. Now, the other thing is I waited for my gauge after I turned it off, turned the stove off. I waited for my gauge to go from the 10 and a half to 11 all the way back down to 0. When that happened, the plug that was here, let me bring it up closer. You remember the plug. Can you see that? The plug dropped down, and then I took the weight from that area. So I did that. I got rid of my 2 pots that I had up here that was warming my other batch. They are now inside of the canner. They're warming up. I've got it up on high again, and so that's warming up. And as soon as it gets to a level that it's boiling, then I will take and put the top back on it. Wait for the steam to come up like we did the last time. Oh, did you hear that? I don't know if you heard that pop. That is the magical sound that you want to hear after you've processed your food. You want to hear that pop. And it looks like at this point there are, let me see, I'm looking at the tops, and they're very hot right now. Let me see if I can bring one over to you. Let me see. I'll take this one and bring it over. It's still bubbling. I don't know if you can see it. Light's probably not that great. If I put it down and turn it so that we got a little bit less shadow. Okay, can you see that? It's still cooking. It is still cooking. Now this one here had a little bit of seepage that came out of the top, but it has sealed. It has sealed. So this is one that has popped, but that's what it looks like right now. It's still hot, still steaming, still cooking. So it looks like I have 1, 2, 3 that still need to pop, and you can tell that it needs to pop is when, let me come a little closer here. There is really a glare. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, so when your lid, see that, you see that little bump there? That's what you're looking for. You want it to sink in. When that little bump, let's see if I can make it show up a little bit better. There it is. See that? When that little bump sinks in, you'll hear those guys will make a popping sound. And when that popping sound happens, that's pretty much saying that your cans are sealing or sealed. So I'm hoping that that's going to be a pretty good batch, and I don't see why it shouldn't be. They look pretty good. They smell delicious. I did have a little seepage, like I said, with the one, and that goes back to me telling you that I have a little bit of an issue with my hands when I tighten the lids on the jars. I don't know if anybody else, if you are a canner and you have this issue, you know, put some, tell me about it in the comment section, because when I tighten them, you know, I try to do the finger tight, but I do a little bit more than that just so that I can avoid the seepage. But as you can see, I still had one that had the seepage, even though I did a little bit more than a, you know, just a finger tighten. It still had seepage for that one. So if you also experience that, just let me know. It would be nice to hear from you. I don't know if you guys got a chance to, or if you even know this YouTuber by the name of Lead Farmer. And I know there's some numbers or something like that behind his name. But the beginning of it starts with Lead Farmer. I watch him all the time, so I don't know why I don't know the full title of his name. But he was on the other day. I watch him quite often. He's funny, and he's a guy that is aware of the times that we're in, and he does videos to help people to prepare for rough times. And he also has been canning. He put a video out, I want to say yesterday. I'm dating this video, and hopefully I'll be able to upload it and won't have any problems like I have been having. I have like 3 or 4 videos that I haven't been able to upload, but I still wanted to do this one just so that when I get to the point where I can actually upload it, it will have been done. So anyhow, Lead Farmer. So he did a video, and he was talking about, he went to a Walmart, and they were fully stocked in canning jars and lids, which was amazing. So sister girl here went out to her local Walmart online to see if she could get the lids, because you know, I've got plenty of jars. I just need some more lids. Although I think I probably will try to get me some wide mouths quarts in the near future as well. Well, lo and behold, I was able to find a wide mouth lids. The store said it had 3 available in stock. So I put those 3 in my cart. And then I looked for the regular mouth, found them, and I put 6 in just to see if they would allow me to do 6. And it did. And I said to myself, I'm not gonna push my luck. So what I ended up doing was I put it in the cart, went straight to the shopping area, and it let me know it has to be for pickup only. Cannot deliver it to me. So I said, okay, that's fine. So I wanted to make sure that I had my local Walmart, the zip code for my local Walmart in there, so that I could pick it up. Well, my local Walmart didn't have it. That meant I had to travel across town to another town in order to get these lids. I said, okay, it's not too far. I'll go ahead and get it because I don't know when we're going to get these lids again. So I did. I went ahead and finished my purchase. It wasn't 15 minutes later. I get a notification from Walmart telling me that the items that I've purchased are out of stock and that they will refund me the purchase price. So I wasn't able to find any in my area. So if you can find those lids, and I was going for just the lids, not the rims. There's a box that they have the box with both of them in it, and I was just going for the lids, not the rims. Okay, not the both of them, just the lids. If you can find those lids, honey, get them when you can. Get them while you can. He put the alert out, and I appreciated him putting the alert out, but I wasn't able to get any. So I'll have to wait until we get stocked up in our area if that happens. We'll wait and see. Well, anyhow, that's it for the most part for canning pot roast. So that will be fast food eventually. It'll be fast food for us because, any evening my husband says he wants pot roast, all I have to do is go get a jar, heat it up, and I'll probably, when I'm heating it up, I'll probably throw a little bit of flour in it, of course, season it so that it has a little bit of a gravy for them. And that's a fast meal. That's a fast meal. So I hope that this video was helpful to you. I hope you learned something. If you in the future would like to see me do something else, let me know. I'm going to talk a little bit. I don't know if you can tell. Probably can't tell too good in this garment that I'm wearing. But I have been dieting. I know people don't like to use that word dieting, but that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to lose weight. It's a diet that I'm on, and I will do a video in the future talking about how everything is going, what I'm using, and everything about it. I can tell you at this point in time, I'm down 14 pounds. So, yoo-hoo, for me, it's not much, but for me, that's a big deal. And this time around, it's my prayer, and I'm believing it. I'm going to lose this weight, and it's going to stay off. Although I've been this way for a while, I'm not really accustomed, if that makes any sense, I'm not really accustomed to being obese or a fat woman. I'm not accustomed to it. I want to say most of my adult life, minus probably 15 years, I was a skinny mini. And when I say I was a skinny mini, probably 15 years ago, maybe about 15 years ago. So I should have adjusted. I have not. And probably a good thing that I have not. But I was like 105 to 115, bouncing back and forth between that weight. And I am in the 200s right now, and that is just a no-no. Although I will say this, Father has kept me healthy, completely healthy for the most part. I'm not on any prescription medications. I am 62 and doing really, really well despite being overweight. So I'll do another video, and I will talk to you about how I am managing my weight, the meals that I'm enjoying, and what I'm doing to actually, get rid of these pounds. So, that being said, I want to say to you, be safe out there in this environment that we have, that we're living in. I want to say, God bless you. Much love, much respect. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, like this video, share this video, and comment because I want to hear from you. Love you guys. Bye.